What's up, everybody? It's Colin from Anchor Point Tactical. Today we are working on a simple pancake style holster for the Shield 9mm. This also works for the Shield Plus. It's the same frame, so holsters are interchangeable. This one's gonna have mod wings on them, which is a good choice for outside the waistband, belt mounted. So basically the belts just go through this. You can get these 1.5 inch and 1.75 inch. And then the print is going to be black on the back with this bare arms graphic. So I'm just going to show you the build process. It's pretty straightforward. We'll get this blocked out and then in the press, cut and trimmed, and then we'll clean it up and then she'll be done. All right, so the first step to making a holster is you grab your mold. YouTube, this is not a real firearm. This is made out of fiberglass. It is not the real thing. You grab your mold, and we just take some blue tape and we tape off the slide. The reason why we do this, some people don't do it, but the reason why we do it is because it actually bumps out the slide a little bit on the Kydex, so that it kind of prevents it from having premature wear and tear on the slide of the firearm. So we're just gonna go and do 7 layers of tape. Put over. And then I also like to add 1 extra piece on the front to kind of get the muzzle flush, and then don't really need to worry about the back since that's going to be cut off anyway. Now, with this build, we're not going to be adding a whole lot. This specific mold comes pre-blocked, so you have this blocking channel. Normally what I would do is I would put a piece of steel or aluminum onto the slide and tape that down to make a blocking channel for controls and whatnot, but this specific mold actually comes pre-blocked, so that's pretty helpful. So all we have to do is cut there to make this flush so that we can get as much definition as possible. I'll probably add 1 more piece of tape here just to make sure that tape doesn't come up. Okay, and then this is pretty much good to go. Like I said, since this is pre-blocked, I don't have to add blocking myself, and this is a pancake style holster. So what that means is the belt attachments are going to go on either side like this. All right, so this is almost done. The next step is to build a retention plate. Which I just use a 1/4 inch wood for this. So you want to mark out this area in front of the muzzle and in front of the trigger guard. I'll do probably straight down right here. So I'll go cut this out on the scroll saw and then I'll show you what's next. All right, so I have this retention plate cut out. So as you can see, it matches up with the muzzle and in front of the trigger guard. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and tape it onto the mold. I like to do 1 in front of the muzzle. You want to make sure that it is nice and centered. So again, this is a retention plate. So what that means is this is going to make a gap in the kydex in order to have a spot to put a washer, a rubber washer, and a screw, so that the end user has the ability to adjust the retention. A lot of guys will do fixed retention holsters, which is fine, but I personally prefer to be able to adjust the retention to my liking. Make sure that's nice and straight in the middle. All right, looks good. So the next step is to cut your kydex sheets. So you can get these. This is a 1 foot by 2 foot sheet of kydex. Again, you can get all of this stuff from holstersmith.com. So you put a mold down, line it up with the edge of your retention plate, and then I tend to go about a half an inch past the back of the slide, just to have plenty of room. So you just score it, and then you really only have to go over it one time. If you press a little hard, and then you can just snap it. So this will be the back side of the holster. So I'll put this black away, and then I'm gonna take our bare arms graphic, and I'm gonna cut that to the same size as the black. All right. So if you're not familiar with what a pancake style holster is, it's two pieces of kydex sandwiched together, kind of like a pancake. It's a flatter design. So basically we put the back piece of kydex down with the mold, and then the front of the kydex goes over it, and it all squishes together. So let's show you that process. Okay, so right now I have my oven warming up, as well as our foam. So this foam is going to press down and squish the kydex over the mold, and you can literally just use a convection oven. I got this off of Facebook Marketplace for I think like $45, and it works perfectly. I just needed one that was big enough to hold the size of kydex sheets that I needed. So we're going to heat up the kydex to 350 degrees, and then we'll throw it in the press, and we'll see what happens afterwards. All right, one thing you want to make sure you're doing when you're putting your kydex in your oven is you want to make sure that you check it every once in a while with a temperature gun. These are pretty cheap, like $30 to $40, and after it gets to around 275, you're going to want to flip the kydex in the oven so that they heat evenly. All right, looking like we're pretty close to getting the kydex to temp, so let's do it. So while the mold is in the press, I wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of a rundown of what we offer here at Anchor Point Tactical. We offer a wide variety of styles of holsters, from inside the waistband to outside the waistband. We also do mag carriers and stuff like that. We do level 2 retention holsters for duty applications as well. So we do like inside the waistband. This is a FDE fall OWB that I made for myself a while back. And then we also do like drop mount holsters and mag carriers. We can also do knife sheaths as well. If you have a blade that you want to have a sheath built for, We have over 300 different patterns of kydex that you can choose from. So if you want to check out any of our stuff, you can go to our website, anchorpointtactical.com, and just check out what we have. And I'll also put a link in the description below. But for now, let's get back to bending. All right, so I just pulled the mold out of the press, and it looks super good. So clean. I'm really excited for this one. So the next step is to mark out a design for this, and then we'll cut it out, put our rivets in it, and then we'll keep going. After the mold is out of the press and it looks good, you want to make sure to check that everything is centered. Sometimes when you're doing a pancake style holster, it can fold over, which is very annoying. You just gotta know what you're doing. After that, we're gonna start designing the look of the holster. So what I do is I always put my hand over the grip to make sure that I have enough clearance for fingers, and then I mark where that's gonna be. So probably about right there. And then we take a contour gauge, which you can get at Home Depot or Harbor Freight. They do have plastic ones on Amazon. But basically what these do is give you the ability to mark a straight line over an uneven surface. And so what you're gonna do is take that over that line that you mark, and mark the lines on either side like that. And then from there, we're gonna use a drill guide. This matches up with the mod wings that we're using for the belt mountings. As you can see, that's the same hole size or distance between holes. And so you can get these on DIYholster.com. I'll throw a link in the description, but they have 3 that they offer for drill guides for different sizes of mountings. So what we're going to do is we're going to line this up with the line that you just made, and we're going to do some hole marks on either side of the mold. And you want to give yourself enough space in front of the sight channel to be able to bend it later, and we'll get there. We'll use the heat gun to bend this to match the curvature of the waistline. Just to give enough room for when you cut it, you're not going to be digging into the hole for the rivet. And then from here, we'll start designing a little bit more. So you're going to go, I like to do open muzzle for my holsters. So we'll go right at the muzzle. The retention screw is going to go right about here. So we'll bring this out and probably go across like this. Bring this down and up. And then you're gonna come on this side where the trigger is, and I like to follow up the trigger. This customer wants a full sweat shield, so we'll go all the way to the top. Slide. Follow that down. Then we'll curve it to the edge. Sweet. All right, so I actually went ahead and cut the sides off here because before we can cut the shape out, we have to drill the holes out in order to keep the kydex from separating, and we want to make sure all the holes line up. So we're going to drill these holes out. This is where the drill guides come in handy. So you take your drill guide, throw it over the holes that you've marked, And then take a 1/4 inch bit.
Same on the other side.
All right, so now that those holes are drilled, you can separate the kydex. So you want to just find a spot on the kydex that is kind of easy to get to, and then you just get your hands in there, separate them, take the mold out, and then you can actually get all this junk off here. We don't need it anymore. So once you have these two separated, we're actually going to temporarily put some rivets in here. And just do one on both sides. Because we're going to drill out our retention hole. For this, you're going to want to use 7/32 bit. Pop the rivets out. And then we're going to clean all of our holes. So you'll want to pick up one of these countersink tools. It's just a 1/2 inch countersink that you can countersink bit that you can throw in a drill and just clean up all the holes.
Inside and outside.
All right, so then the next step is going to be to pop rivets into all the holes, and then we're going to take it to an arbor press and press them all together. Forgot to mention, the next step is actually to put in your retention screw. You're going to want to do that before you put the rivets in, because it's going to be way easier to do that. So you put slotted post, bushing, and then I like to use these finishing washers. Some people don't like to do that. It's kind of just dependent on your style. Okay, so that's in there, and now we'll take this to the arbor press. All right, so we're at the arbor press. We have these. You can also get these from DIY Holster. They are press dies. You want to make sure that they're nice and lubed up so that you don't scratch the eyelets. So we're just going to pop these eyelets in here. Make sure that the already punched side is facing out. And you can do a couple at a time. It depends on how tight your kydex is while you're doing this. Doesn't take a whole lot of pressure. You don't want to go too hard because, as I said before, you can mark up your eyelet and you can actually crack it, which is something you do not want to do. All right, so the next step is just to cut out this design. on the bandsaw and the scroll saw, so I'm gonna go do that really quick, and then we'll talk about finishing it and putting all the hardware on. All right, so what I'm doing here is I actually marked a spot on the front of the holster to cut down the front piece of Kydex, because we don't need all of this section. So we're gonna use a disc bit on Dremel to just cut that out really quick. The next step is to Dremel the edges to give them a nice bevel after the hard cut. So let's get to it. All right, so I've beveled the edges with the Dremel tool. And the next step is to take a sponge sander and just hit the whole side on the edges to kind of blend the edges together and soften them up a bit more. You want to make sure that you kind of do this. It doesn't take a lot. Kind of go back and forth. It doesn't take a whole lot. Make sure you don't go too far over because you don't want to scratch the paint on the rivets. So then after that, I typically just take my knife and go through the inside to make sure that there aren't any burrs in the Kydex. Right, and then one of the last steps is to throw this on the heat gun and fold the sides inward to create that contour. So you're going to want to pick up a heat gun, get it warmed up, and throw the holster into vise, and we're just going to heat it up evenly on both sides until it starts to move, and then we'll pull it down. Right, so as you can see, these are bent to about a 45-degree angle, and once those are bent and cooled, you can go ahead and spray the holster inside and out and clean it off. Try and get off any pencil marks that were made in the process as you're marking it out. Again, you can use ballistol oil or rem oil. It's good for using it to spray before you put it in the press, but it's also great for cleaning. And it just kind of gives off a nice shine. And especially with graphics, it really brings out a shine on those. So make sure you go outside of the holster and inside. I like to put it through the muzzle and pull it all the way through. Make sure it's all cleaned out. Get any extra Kydex shards out of there. So the last step now is to put the belt mountings on. And then she is done. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the hardware, put the pass-through post in the mount with the rubber spacers. And then screw those in. I recommend not tightening it all the way until you have both screws in place. That helps keep it nice and even. If you need to adjust it at all, you can. So there's one. And two. All right. There is your holster, and then pop that bad boy in there. Adjust the retention if you have to. It's pretty tight. And with the mold, it will be a little bit different than with the actual firearm, so do keep that in mind. So, all right, there you go. That is a pancake style holster for a Smith & Wesson Shield, regular Shield 9mm or Shield Plus. That'll work for both in the bear claw print. Thanks for watching this video, everybody. I hope this was educational. I appreciate it very much for the views. If you guys would like and subscribe to this video, we will be posting a lot more videos of our builds. And if you have any questions about anything, leave a comment. We also will be leaving links in the description for all of the material that we used today. So there you have it. It is a Shield pancake holster in the Bear Arms print outside the waistband. Awesome. Have a great day, everybody, and happy bending.